As soon as you notice the train is running off the tracks, stop.
I haven't done anything wrong and you're hurt by something I did.
It's no longer about connection. It's about survival.
I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't know what to do here.
Once emotional shutdown happens, for sure,
Right.
There's no going back.
Emotional shutdown isn't something that there's a well-known term for.
The more activated you get, the less space that logic and empathy have. In the shutdown state, I'm just like, oh, we will not be connected.
It feels like you're asking me to play dead. You're like a baby. Oh, this is stupid.
Yeah. Welcome to the Well Worship Man podcast, where men come to build unshakable presence, become the rock in their relationships, and build a legacy that lasts beyond their years. Here, we explore the path to mature masculinity through humble power, daily devotion, and unwavering integrity.
Thanks, baby. And we talk often on this podcast about repair, rupture, and returning to connection with the people that are closest to you. So we created a free guide. It's in the description, called From Closed to Connected, a 9-minute training and a conversation script that can help you say what you need to say, hear what hurts, and stay in the room without collapsing or attacking. So grab that in the description below. What are we talking about today, baby?
Today we are talking about when your partner shuts down and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. And so as we go through this conversation, we're going to share some of our personal experience, because emotional shutdown isn't something that there's a well-known term for. On our last podcast, we talked about people pleasing. Mostly everybody's heard of that, but not everybody has heard of emotional shutdown. So to help everyone understand what that is, we're going to share our own individual experiences of what happens when we shut down emotionally. Then you're going to teach on the nervous system side of what's actually happening physiologically, emotionally, and energetically.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll talk about what I need from me when I feel emotional shutdown, and also what you need from you. And we'll finish by sharing how we support each other when the other is experiencing emotional shutdown, so that the listeners can understand what they can do or how they can embody the practices that they can bring into their lives, so they can be supportive to their partners when their partners are feeling especially raw, tender, and sensitive.
Yeah. My experience with emotional shutdown in my own process is there's some sort of miscommunication that happens. There's some sort of catalyst, that we were in connection and now we're not. And in that moment, there's often a share, there's an attempt to repair in some way. And for me, my own system starts to shut down when the likelihood of repair seems to be less. And so we are communicating as well as we can. But, when that initial rupture happens for anyone, and for me, it's like we were in connection and now we're not. And I feel this contracture in my stomach. Like my posture really collapses forward, and I feel some emotion in my face and some tension in my forehead, and my heart hurts. I don't want to be in disconnection from you. And then there's an attempt to share. And often the attempt to share goes well. But when it's not going as well as I like, that pain and those sensations in my body starts to increase. And oftentimes I feel like there's a phase of hurt, and then there's a phase of fire and frustration of like, why aren't you understanding me? I just want to be felt. And then in the cases where emotional shutdown happens, it's like that fire escalates and escalates until my system hits like a short circuit. That's really what it feels like. It's like the fire and the electricity in my body is building and building, and then suddenly, it's just like flat. Mm-hmm. And I need an escape. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of this like flight energy, like I need to leave or be by myself, because it's like the energy in the room or the electricity in my body by way of trying to communicate has has heightened so much that even being in the same space feels like claustrophobic is usually how I describe
Mhm.
it. So yeah, so that's where I'll pause. That's my experience of what it feels like when emotional shutdown happens. There's a disconnection, there's an attempt, and then the attempt isn't working and my whole body and brain
Yeah.
just remove themselves.
Yeah, so there's like a building, a building, a building of intensity, and then you reach capacity and it falls flat. Is there, as things are building and building and building, is there a point of no return after which emotional shutdown is the only thing that's going to happen? Like, where is kind of that inflection point?
The inflection point into where once emotional shutdown happens, for sure,
Right,
there's no going back.
right.
That's its own route, which we'll get to when we talk about like what we can provide for ourselves. But before that, I feel like any true connection through empathy and like, if we can just find that one spot where we're in the same space, I feel like that could de-escalate it at any point. But the more the energy builds, the less likely
Hmm.
that is to happen, not only because of the misunderstanding itself, but also because my own system is escalating. And the
Yeah,
more fire and tension in my body, the less likely I am to see even the small ways in which you
yeah.
are creating connection.
Yeah, it's like the channel for connection becomes tighter and tighter and tighter.
Hmm.
And so it's like as you become more activated, I must be like ever more precise
Uh huh.
in my empathy to return
Uh huh.
us to connection.
Which is challenging because in those same moments you're also getting more frustrated that we're not
Right.
in connection,
Yeah. Yeah. So the stakes become higher
higher.
and higher.
Yeah. I'd love to hear what emotional shutdown feels like in your body when you experience it because I don't think it's the
Yeah.
same.
There were some similarities that I was seeing when you were sharing, although I wouldn't describe them with the same words.
Mm.
When I feel emotional shutdown, it feels like my efforts have been exhausted. I feel like giving up. I feel spent. Like I feel like laying down or like putting my head on the table, which I usually resist because like I don't want you to see that I'm giving up, you
Mm.
know? And it's usually after I have tried and tried to either solve the problem and it hasn't worked, or I've tried to reconcile a paradox and I haven't been able to do it. An example of that might be I haven't done anything wrong, so to speak, and you're hurt
Mhm.
by something I did,
Mhm.
right? And when my mind just can't get the square peg and the circle hole, and I've tried again and again and again, similar to you, things just kind of flatten out. I'm just like, I have like no energy to like continue trying to figure this out. And
Mhm.
so for me, I will go quiet. Like I don't know what to say.
Mhm.
Like something that will come up inside of me that I don't share out loud is like, is that like I don't know what else to say. Like I don't know what to do here. Like it feels like there's just nothing
Mhm.
here. And so often I will like close my eyes and I'll like rub my face and forehead. Like I get a little like neurodivergent in these moments, or I'll like rub my fingers. I kind of start like stimming like my
Mhm.
body. And it is like a minor attempt to like get out of this feeling of my hands are tied.
Mhm.
Like I don't know what to do.
Mhm.
So that's how it shows up and also like I can't really like think straight.
Mhm.
It's like not the synapses are like not connecting in my brain. I'm like
Mhm.
I almost feel like I have like steam coming out of my ears and there's like so much like faulty wiring happening in my brain. Like I can no longer connect the dots.
Mhm. It's interesting hearing the languaging of like, it's almost like I'm feeling a bit neurodivergent or I need to stim. And it's like, you don't have that specific diagnosis.
Sure.
But as we go into nervous system stuff, it's like in this state, there is a nervous system response. And in people who are like diagnosed with neurodivergence, they're having nervous system responses that are activating in a way that neurotypical people wouldn't. So, in a sense, like some of the experience is similar to maybe what neurodivergent people are experiencing at a way lower level of stimulation.
Right.
And so when emotional shutdown is happening, something that feels really important to share and for everyone to know is that oftentimes the mistaken perception is that the loudest person in the room is the most activated.
Mm.
But the way that the nervous system works is you will go into fight or flight first and then into freeze. Now, over time, the way that your body has successfully activated and survived will create a preference. So some people have an internal fight preference, an internal flight preference, or an internal freeze preference. But through some of Peter Levine's and Stephen Porges's work, it's like the more activated person is often the person who has dissociated. Because the person who's fighting is still in the room. The person who's like very loud and big and expressive, they're still at least present in the conversation. But the person who's emotionally shut off or dissociated in some way, or oftentimes they'll be described as like eyes glazing over, that person's not in the room anymore. That person has gotten so activated that a part of them has shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be frustrating when a person who is still in fight mode or in attempt to repair mode is witnessing it, because it will seem like they're not being listened to anymore, and they're not. Yeah. But it's not by way of choice. It is a survival nervous system activation. And so what we'll share with couples working on this is like, and we do our best to do it ourselves, though obviously everyone's always learning. It's like, the game is not who's right, for sure. We're not really ever playing that game, or at least we're trying not to. But the game is really like, who can notice that someone's activated first? And that changes it, because that allows you to go from a conversation of who did what wrong to, okay, someone is activated and needs support, in returning to a place in which we can actually have a conversation. And that's why when you're describing your experience of shutdown, the sort of like last thing is, oh my gosh, I just can't solve the problem. I don't know what to do. Like nothing is working. Because the more activated you get, the less space that logic and empathy have. Mm-hmm. So when I'm regulated and I'm calm and I'm just here to say like, hey, Isaac, like I know you didn't mean it, but that thing that happened 2 seconds ago, like it didn't really feel good. And you're like, okay, I'm so sorry. Like that wasn't the intention, and it's done. That is a regulated repair. But for the most part, when someone has a miscommunication or a rupture, there is dysregulation that's occurring, because that's what the whole emotional response is. And the bigger the emotional response, the more activated someone's nervous system is, the more likely they are going to be to go from a tolerance or capacity state into fight, flight, or freeze. And once you're in fight, flight, or freeze for real, the level, like we were talking about the likelihood of repair happening, like closing, it really does. Like you are less able to feel empathy or to understand logic in that state of survival, because it's no longer about connection, it's about survival. And so that is really important for anyone in any relationship dynamic to understand. Like no one is screaming on purpose. No one is leaving the room on purpose. No one is checking out on purpose. It is simply a response to their nervous system state. And if we can know that, and we can better understand our own nervous system reactions as well as each other, then we can move forward in a way that allows for support and understanding, instead of a way that feels like your shutdown is like directly related to your value of me.
So when I can't figure it out and I'm in shutdown, it's not that it's unfigure outable, as that I am in a state in which it is unfigure outable. I do not have the resources available to be able to connect the dots either logically or empathy. I when I was sharing, I can't connect the dots. I was thinking, yeah, logically I can't connect the dots, but I also can't like link my heart to like what you're feeling. I also can't access empathy. And that's frustrating because that's what's needed in the moment.
Yeah. So when I experience this shutdown state, I've gotten so activated and emotional and frustrated that we're not really, it's just frustration that we're not in connection. It's not really frustration at you. It's just like we say this often once we repair of like, it's so painful to not be connected, and that's the whole experience is I've gotten so overwhelmed by not being in connection with you that my system has short circuited.
Yeah. Well, can I share my experience of you when you're emotionally shut down?
For sure.
You're usually like swaddled in a blanket with a blank stare off into the distance, saying very little.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually a really important piece that I forgot in my share is suddenly I can't make eye contact. I'm just like not interested.
Yeah.
It feels like too threatening.
Well, in my head, I'm like, well, are you going to say something? Or like, are you going to like look at me?
Yeah, which then just increases the frustration on your end.
Totally.
Yeah.
What is your experience of me when I'm in emotional shutdown?
Phone.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like you're really like in the room with me, and then once you shut down, you're on your phone for sure. And it's something that you're working on. It's like that's like not probably isn't going to be an issue by the time this podcast airs. But historically, like that is what happens.
It's a good little pacifier. Yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, we actually have a rule now that if we're in rupture, no one's on their phone.
Yeah.
Like the most important thing becomes the repair. And obviously there's like gray area that may occur over time of like, okay, one of us literally has like a meeting we have to be on.
Yeah.
But as far as like the repair cycle is concerned, it's like a phone is obviously a way to disconnect from what is. And only by being in connection with the discomfort in the room is repair even possible.
Yeah, well, there's better things to do. It's not that we have to continue just butting heads, right? It's like I can go for a walk or I can sit in meditation, like something where I can like actually like remain connected to you and to the challenge that we're moving through instead of disengaging. But that doesn't mean that we have to like continue going back and forth when we're not getting anywhere because of the nervous system state that we're in.
Totally. So when I experience emotional shutdown, I need space. Like for the most part, I need to go be in a room that's enclosed. Outside feels like a little too much for me. So I need to be like in a room by myself with no other energies in it except for maybe my dog. And my experience of what I need is like just to be in the activated state. I'm quite frozen. Like I can't really pray or meditate or dance or journal or do things that are normally supportive. It's like the thing that I need is to like lay down in bed and be with my breath. And then eventually, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes hours. It's less often hours the more that I do this work. But, in the past, it's been days sometimes, like not in relationship to this partnership, but just in my own life experience. Like sometimes that activation lasts for a long time until your body understands how to come out of it. And for me, the only way to come out of it is just to let myself be in that short-circuited space with my breath. And then eventually, in whatever amount of time my body takes, which is the important piece, it's like you really can't rush it. I'll be ready to like move or meditate or pray or do something. And then I'll be ready to interact.
Yeah. Hey there, lend me your attention for just 1 minute before we dive back into this incredible conversation. And I wouldn't be interrupting if it wasn't for something extremely special that Jessica and I have created for you. If you've been listening to the podcast, you have heard the themes of urgent transparency, of leaning into those courageous and vulnerable conversations that can bring your whole world into greater alignment. But it's easier said than done. There's fear that comes up. There's a nervous system state that wants to do nothing else but to avoid or escape. So what we've done to make this process more accessible for you is we've created a free guide called From Closed to Connected. It includes a short video and a script that you can follow so you can have the conversation that you've been avoiding, the one conversation that can change everything in your life and your relationships. That free resource, the guide, is linked below in the show notes, so make sure you grab that. Have that conversation within 24 hours and watch everything in your life reorient around greater truth. Let us know how it went, how it changed things, what was challenging. And for now, back to the show. How do you know when you've shifted phases from being frozen to, okay, now I'm ready to meditate?
Breath. Like if I try to meditate before I mean, I guess laying down and breathing is a form of meditation, but when I'm talking about meditation, I'm talking about like really being present with any miscommunication that happened. But the laying down and letting myself be frozen phase is really noted with like, it's kind of hard to breathe. I might be crying. I might be frozen. And then once I start to unfreeze, I might be crying because now it's accessible, you know? And then eventually my breath like starts to become more natural. It doesn't have to be focused. I just notice like, wow, I'm actually getting more air with every breath. Like my body's no longer tense. There is this feeling in the freeze, emotional shutdown form that I experience where like once I collapse into it, I truly feel like I can't move my body. And so the way that I know that it's ready is I start to naturally move my body. Like there's no effort in trying to make myself do it, which I think is sometimes supportive. Like sometimes people do need help getting out of these states. But for me, the optimal way to get out of a freeze is to tell myself, take all the time that you need and notice when my body naturally starts to want to move in some way.
And how do you know that you're ready to shift from that more active meditation to connection?
From an internally motivated place, I know that because my system's settled enough where I'm like, this isn't a big deal. like obviously there's still conversation that needs to happen on the other side of the shutdown. Maybe not obviously, but in our relationship, obviously. And really should be the case for everyone. You know, it's like just because an emotional shutdown thaws doesn't mean that the repair has happened. It's like the emotional shutdown thawing means that it's now possible for the repair to occur. But for me, from that internally motivated state of like, once I've had enough time in my own energy, there is a part of me that is like, okay, I'd like to be in connection again. Versus like in the shutdown state, I'm just like, oh, like we will not be connected. You know, it's like that part of my protector really takes over where it's like, no. And so that part of me has to be cared for well enough so that at the very least, it's like 51-49 with the part of me that wants to be in connection with you, speaking a bit louder.
Mhm.
My heart feels more open. And usually I have a little shame. Usually I'm like, why did my body have to make such a big deal out of that? Let me just walk back outside with my tail between my legs, you know? And it's like, that's just the state we're in. Like, it just feels like some stuff just feels like a big deal to my nervous system. And like, that's the gift, you know?
Mhm.
But usually when I'm ready to connect, I feel a little bit like, oh, shucks. Like, I wish I
Yeah.
didn't function this way
Yeah.
because now I have to go do this thing when instead of just being connected, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I have yet to start my support group for husbands and boyfriends of highly sensitive women. Um,
Yeah, it's coming.
yeah. For me, it's a little bit different of what I need when I'm in emotional shutdown. It's a white monster energy drink and some drywall that I can put my fist through. I'm kidding. What I need, and in that phase where it's like ramping up and there's like a chance of like not overreaching my capacity, I need this, and I also need it if I'm emotionally shut down, is I just need some silence. Like, you are, like, so smart and attuned that, like, you always have something to say when these repair conversations, unless you're shut down, then
Mhm.
it's like there's plenty of silence. But when we're ramping up, like, I really sometimes, and I can be better at this, is like, "Hey, can you just, like," not in a mean way, but can you just like stop talking for a minute so I can just breathe and like hear my own thoughts? Because like all I can hear is you right now.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, sometimes there's like a miraculous Jimmy Neutron brain blast, and I can connect everything, like how you're feeling, and I can feel that, and I can know how I contributed, and I can just like separate all the threads, and like we're good. It's
Yeah.
like done,
Yeah.
you know? But if I'm emotionally shut down, usually by that point you are too. You usually get there before me, but it's like I need the silence. Like I cannot just continue ramming my head against the wall, you know?
Mm.
So I need some silence. For me, it's because I'm less sensitive. I don't need to be like in a dark room with zero stimulation, but like a walk, the gym, like usually some kind of movement allows me to create enough space from the injury to be able to think and feel a bit more clearly.
Mhm.
And then, maybe I'll start like singing a little ditty or like have a snack. But really just like wondering where you're at so we can like go ahead and seal it off.
I have a couple of things that have come up listening to your experience. One is, when you were sharing your experience of shutdown earlier and also of my shutdown, it's like there's this moment of just wanting to put your head on the table.
Hmm.
And there's also at some points in our repair process has been moments where like emotion has surfaced purely from overwhelm on your end.
Hmm.
And it's like that's actually the moment that pulls me out of the fight.
Hmm.
Like you're talking about how I have so much to say sometimes. And it's like that's like the fight energy. I'm just like, I just want this to be better. And only by way of me like telling you all the information could it possibly be better, even though it's not helping at all. But it's like once I realize, ideally, I will realize this sooner. But once I realize that like my protector has slightly defeated you, I'm like, oh no. Like it doesn't feel good. I'm like, oh no, like I have gone too far in this conversation. And I think this is common in like the male experience of like not wanting to admit the emotions that they're experiencing in those moments, but it's actually in the witnessing of your emotional state that I know that you're at least with me. Because sometimes when there is no emotion on the other end, not just here, but like just in hard conversations in general, the person who's having the emotional process, like the primary problem is that they feel alone. The primary problem is not that this little miscommunication happened. It's that this miscommunication happened that made them feel alone. And now there's no response to the emotional share and they feel even more alone. So it's interesting. Our last podcast we just recorded about the importance of sharing your emotions. And it's like, we've mentioned this a little before, but I just want to like invite you to like when you're feeling like you just want to collapse your head, like do it. Like you don't have to just like be strong because I'm upset, like you can also have an emotion and like we can be in connection over the emotions that we're experiencing,
Hmm.
you know? What does that feel like?
It feels like you're asking me to play dead, and that somehow that would be helpful, which is like I can't quite wrap my brain around that.
I'm not asking you to play dead, but I'm asking you when you feel it to share it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Stay
feels
tuned.
good. I feel like a pattern interrupt for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Only if it's authentic, but it's like you don't have to pretend that you're not experiencing something.
yeah.
And then I was also thinking movement as a strategy for humans, but for men specifically. And something that you shared is like the movement helps you. And then, you do whatever to care for yourself and you're just like ready to have the conversation. That's really important because a lot of times people who regulate with movement will move enough energy that then it just doesn't feel like a problem anymore. It's like
Mm,
the intensity has dissipated enough. Same thing with some people who need space. They'll take the space that they need, and then the space has dissipated the activation enough that things get brushed under the rug. But no matter how long I spend in my room or how much exercise you do, we're still having a conversation at the end.
mhm.
It's like those things are strategies not to get rid of what's being felt, but to get us in a state, like you said, where conversing about how we're feeling is accessible.
Yeah, and I think something that we can do better on is taking space earlier.
Mm.
Is not necessarily needing to get to
Yeah.
emotional shutdown before we take space, because like if the it's like once you get to emotional shutdown, space just happens.
Yeah.
Like the space just grows between the two of you,
Yeah.
whether you physically leave the room or not. You just like are not talking
Mhm.
anymore, and so the healthiest thing to do would be to actually say like, "Hey, I see where this is going. We might have a shot at figuring this out right now, but I'm gonna take some space now before it gets any further and then come back to it."
Mhm.
And like if I ask for that or you ask for that, like letting it happen.
Yeah.
I've gotten a lot better at this, but earlier on, it's like if you needed that, I'd be like, no, like we have to fix this now. Like you can't just leave in the middle of this, you know?
Yeah.
Because and that was like a result of my own discomfort of like extending the period of time that we were in disconnection. And like, no, we can't do that.
Mhm.
But like for anyone listening, it's like if your partner needs space, that might happen inside of you, and you just got to like deal with that and respect their need for space, because ultimately that's them doing what they need to do so they can show up to the conversation the way they need to for it to be complete.
Mhm.
And you chasing them around the house is like not
Not
helpful.
supportive. Yeah. And, we don't necessarily have to do this because there is an understood agreement that as soon as we're regulated enough, we will speak.
Hmm.
But in partnerships where that isn't so clear, if someone does need space, there needs to be containment around
Yeah.
it. There is natural containment in the relationship that we've built with each other. But when you don't have that practice, it's like, I need space. I'll be back in 30 minutes. And then you can, or I'll check in 30 minutes, or I'll check in 2 hours. There needs to be some sort of containment
Hmm.
that allows everyone to know that it's not a mystery when the next time you're going to speak is. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that at the end of that 30 minutes or 2 hours, you have to repair, but there is a check in to let each other know if you're ready to repair or not. And if
Yeah.
not, then there's another containment set.
Mhm.
Um, and it is best to, as soon as you notice the train is running off the tracks, stop, you know, and the earlier you can do that, the better. I'm in the same position as you where like I didn't used to be okay with space. Like I didn't used to understand that it was okay or beneficial or like actually what was best for the partnership until I started learning all of Peter Levine's work. And even with allowing space, the truth is that the sooner you can deactivate the nervous system, the less time it takes, and so it is better to for someone to notice, like I said, okay, we're playing the game of who can notice that there's an activated nervous system in the room first, and I was thinking actually as you were sharing, most of someone's response to someone sharing with them that they have caused an emotional reaction is a defense against the shame that feels or that's created. It's like no one wants to cause anyone that they care about harm. And so if someone tells me that I've hurt them, the initial words out of my mouth are usually an attempt to avoid the shame that I feel. And so, actually, the best strategy would be me sharing something with you. And as soon as you start talking, me saying, hey, like, maybe just feel what it feels like for me to share that with you first.
But I don't want to.
Yeah. No one wants to. I don't want to feel this way
That's
either.
the
You know?
original
Exactly.
reaction. Yeah.
Totally. But I don't want to. No one wants to feel bad, you
Yeah.
know? But it's like, if you, part of why this work in partnership is so important is that partners have the same language. You know, if one person in the partnerships understands everything we're talking about and the other person has no idea, then it is going to be hard to take the space you need or to offer the space that's needed or to pause in moments of conversation to allow things to be felt. But it's like, you actually wouldn't ever need to take space if throughout the conversation there were pauses
Mhm.
for the emotions to be felt and digested and felt and digested. And in the moment, it feels like that's going to make everything last longer. But it doesn't last as long as it would if you get to the place where both people need now like an hour of space to themselves. And none of that lasts as long as a whole relationship that's unwilling to talk about it.
Mhm. Yeah. We originally planned to share, what we need from the other one when we feel emotionally shut down. And I feel like what we shared is when you need space, allow the space to happen, containment around when you're going to talk again or an agreement to talk again when you're ready. So I think we've answered that. But there's also these occasions when emotional shutdown happens that we had nothing to do with,
Mm,
right? And so that's actually when I can support you
mhm.
more actively. So in those moments where you're experiencing emotional shutdown, I haven't contributed. What is it that you want most from me?
Well, I want to answer both
Okay.
actually, because I feel like first, if you haven't contributed to it, then I don't usually need space from you.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, right. So then I just need presence. And
Hmm.
it's like from this lens of my emotional shutdown usually looks like a freeze response where I can't move. Like it is harder for me to do the things that feel good or that will help me feel good. So it's like presence from you and like hugs and support, but also like water
Hmm.
and probably a snack and maybe inviting me to go on a walk. And depending on how frozen I am, I probably won't want to go, but I might if you invite me and it's nice outside.
Hmm.
And all of those things can like slowly help me not only feel the shutdown, but also come out of it. You know, like sometimes our systems really do need support orienting to the fact that like the world's not ending. So when I haven't contributed to it, or when you haven't contributed to my shutdown, it's really like I need support with basic needs because otherwise I'll just be frozen on the couch for who knows. When you have contributed to it, if I am taking space from you, like something that you do is once you have regulated, you also still help me with basic like if I'm in a room by myself, you know, you like put water outside of it and you're like, there's water outside your door. And sometimes I'm frozen and I'm like, no, I don't want it. This actually only happened once because I don't usually take space for that long anymore. But it's like that was really sweet. You know, it's like, okay, I don't feel like getting out of this bed. It's not in my capacity to get out of this bed. I definitely don't want to walk outside of this room, but I know that I can drink some water because you have like placed it there for me, you know? And so there's ways that even though I feel like you knew in that moment that I wasn't necessarily going to be receptive to your love, that you're still providing it. And that's really important in phases of like such deep activation that it feels like the repair can't happen, to know that the love's not lost. Like, yes, this is a moment of disconnection, but like the love's not lost. So that was like really, I feel like a powerful experience. And also, you know, if I ever am like shut down in a similar way in the future, which I don't suspect because we're like getting better at holding each other all the time. It's like feeling that your love is still present even when we're in disconnection is like good. That's good stuff.
Hell yeah.
What about you?
When you have contributed, I just need space and silence. And when you haven't, which really doesn't happen for me often at all, it's happened like once within the past month and maybe a handful of other times, is just some simple words. Don't say too much. You can hold my head,
Yeah.
be curious. Want to start to relax a little bit. And snacks are great. Water. Yeah, basic needs too, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And, I'll share when that's happening, I'll be like, I feel like a baby. Oh, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like this?
Yeah.
And you just tell me that it's okay to feel like a baby sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. It's okay to feel like a baby. You're not a baby.
Right.
And just because you feel like one doesn't mean that you are one or that I think you're one.
And then I'll be like, well, it doesn't make you want to fuck me.
Yeah. Yeah. This is good because then I'm like, yeah, I don't right now because you're emotionally not okay. That's not what we're doing here,
Yeah.
And like that's really an important part of like the repair process, miscommunication, emotional shutdown, whether it has to do with you or not, especially on the side of people who have trouble showing their emotions, which
Mhm.
is most often the person carrying more masculine energy or embodiment, but not always. It's like that moment is about humanity.
Yeah.
That moment is about the heart. It's not about polarity. It's not about intimate, like sexual connection, attraction. It's like, it's just not what it's about. It's like if your partner is sick, it's not about sexual attraction in that moment. It's about health and stability and care. And the same is true if their nervous system is unwell. It's about health and support and care. And then once everyone's regulated again, you can get down.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the same on both sides. Like, I also don't want to rip your clothes off when you're wrapped in a blanket sobbing tears. If I did, that would be a little weird. That would be like a dysfunction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not about that all of the time.
Okay, so homework. Get familiar with the emotional shutdown that's occurring in your life.
Mhm.
If I feel that just because it's a nervous system state, so everyone experiences it sometimes. Some people maybe more than others, but like when are you experiencing emotional shutdown and what does it feel like in your body? And better yet, what does it feel like before it's happening in your body so that you can know how to care for yourself a bit ahead of time?
Yeah. And maybe it's not an experience that you have or have often enough that you can like know that you're going to do this homework. Can you recognize it in other people in your life? When they go really quiet, perhaps it's not just about them ignoring you or not wanting to respond. Perhaps it is a state that they're stuck in.
Yeah, so we don't need to push further.
Hmm.
We need to soften.
Well, in the description, you've got our free gift for you from closed to connected. This is a practice, guidelines that will allow you to repair before you reach this stage of emotional shutdown, either in you, in your partner, or in another loved one. So that's free for you. You can download it at the link in the description. And we love you.
We love you.
If you enjoyed this conversation, we've got lots more for you on healthy relationships, leadership, and spirituality. Click one of the videos here on your screen to continue your journey with us, and we'll see you on the next one.